let me share curriculum vitae from today our speaker, Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi. Oke. Apakah sudah tampil, Pak Anam?
Sudah.
Yeah. Yes, today our guest lecturer, Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi, Professor in Laboratory of Stereogenology, Joint Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Yamaguchi University, Japan. Yeah, my supervisor. Very kind person, very nice professor. So I am so lucky. His research interest, effect of dietary contamination by mycotoxin on the reproductive performance of breeding cows. He already published 5 articles in this year, 2021. Author profile by Scopus per December 2021. Its index score 22, indexnya 22. Document by author 140, 140 dengan jumlah citasi 1598 by 1350 dokumen. Jadi ya sudah cukup tinggi, bukan cukup tinggi, sangat tinggi sekali. Gitu. Silahkan dimanfaatkan betul guest lecture dari profesor kita pada sore hari ini. Beliau juga sebagai Adjunct Professor di Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan. Mungkin setahun ke depan beliau akan mendampingi kita sebagai guest lecture di Departemen Peternakan Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan Universitas Airlangga. So, apakah sudah siap Pak Anam, Bu Mirni?
Kayaknya masih belum.
Masih belum? Pak Anam dulu atau gimana Pak Anam?
Oh ya, boleh.
Yeah, before we start the presentation, allow me to invite the head division Animal Husbandry, Dr. Muhammad Anam Al-Arif, to give a speech. Dr. Anam Al-Arif, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Great topic. Good afternoon, Prof. Mitsuhiro Takagi. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being willing to. Thank you for being willing to share your knowledge with us and our students. Mycotoxin are very important to watch out for, especially in Indonesia, because the climate allows fungi to grow easily. Coupled with the behavior of most cattle farmers who underestimate the issue of cattle feed. They assume that cows are able to consume low quality feed, which is very high in crude fiber, even moldy one. However, there is also an assumption that fermented feed is not safe for pregnant animal because it can cause miscarriage. But I think that the possibility of miscarriage is caused by farmer giving the fermented feed of poor quality, such as moldy feed. Because I have seen that there are farms with a very large population that use fermented feed, but there are no miscarriage. Therefore, this lecture on fungi and mycotoxin is very, very important for us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Anam Al-Arif. Sebelumnya, Bu Dekan, mohon maaf karena sedikit dibalik tadi saya mendapatkan info terakhir, Bu Dekan baru join, harusnya Bu Dekan yang duluan memberikan open speech. Yeah, for the next also I would like to invite our dean, Professor Mirdi Lamid, to give a welcome speech. Dear Professor Mirdi Lamid, the time is yours. Selamat sore, Bu Dekan.
Masih mute kayaknya.
Masih mute?
Ya.
Ya, mungkin Pak Adam bisa ngobrol dulu. Atau bagaimana Pak Anam?
Atau mungkin ditayangkan sebentar gitu ya, nanti berhenti dulu kalau Prof Mini datang gitu.
Jangan Pak, kalau berhenti dulu Pak.
Ya. Video apa itu yang bisa ditayangkan? Prof Takaki ada video enggak?
Enggak ada Pak.
Oh, enggak ada.
Diputar ini aja Pak, apa video iklan sekali lagi sambil kita coba follow up lagi.
Ya, Mas Bodi, monggo di setel lagi.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan Universitas Airlangga. Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan Universitas Airlangga lahir sejak tahun 1972 silam, yang berdiri dengan semangat tinggi melahirkan generasi bangsa hebat dalam dunia perkembangan pendidikan kedokteran hewan di Indonesia. Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan Universitas Airlangga diarahkan pada pendidikan dokter hewan yang general, profesional, qualification di lapangan yang menguasai bidang kesehatan hewan, produksi ternak, dan kesehatan masyarakat veteriner. FKH mempunyai beberapa program studi, yaitu program Sarjana Kedokteran Hewan, program Pendidikan Profesi Dokter Hewan, dan beberapa program studi S2, yaitu Magister Biologi Reproduksi, Magister Ilmu Penyakit dan Kesehatan Masyarakat Veteriner, Magister Agribisnis Veteriner, Magister Ilmu Vaksinologi dan Imunoterapeutika, dan program studi Doktoral Sains Veteriner. FKH juga mempunyai satu program studi kedokteran hewan berada di Banyuwangi, yaitu kita sebut dengan PSDKU Banyuwangi. FKH mempunyai 30 guru besar yang mempunyai kompetensi yang sesuai di bidangnya. FKH mempunyai kelas internasional, akreditasi internasional,
Ya, baik. Selamat sore, Bu Dekan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat sore, Dr. Oki. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabar, Jepang? Apa kabar?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Yamaguchi University.
Alhamdulillah baik.
Alhamdulillah.
Wah, sudah semakin fresh, Bu Dekan.
Alhamdulillah tuh doanya. Saya nangis nanti kalau gitu.
Siap. Oke, kita akan mulai. Yes. For the next, also I would like to invite our Dean, Professor Mitni Lamid, to give a welcome speech. Dear Professor Mitni Lamid, time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Oki Satya Widodo. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, on behalf of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Airlangga, I would like to extend a very sincere warm welcome to our distinguished speaker and all of the participants who are joining our special occasion in Adjunct Professor. In today's session, we are very happy because in this afternoon, we have an expert who will present their speech based on his expertise. The topic is mycotoxin and feed in cattle. This topic, I think, is very interesting for us. Let me introduce our speaker, and I will say hello for Professor Mitsuhiro Takaki, PhD, DVM. As a dean, I thank you because our two lecturers, Oki Setyowidodo, DVM, Magister Science, and Lita Rahma Yustinasari, DVM, Magister Veteriner, continue their studies at Yamaguchi University. Thank you for the opportunity given to our two teachers. I have been to Japan 3 times. I visited Hiroshima University, Kobe University, and finally in Nagasaki University. I am amazed by the advancement of education and technology in Japan. I hope to visit Yamaguchi University one day. How temperature in Japan? I think it's now very cool. I'm amazing with sakura flower. It is true, I see sakura flower or cherry blossom, Mas Oki. Where is that true? Sakura flower.
Semuanya betul, Bu. Bahasa Jepang dan bahasa Inggrisnya, ya.
Okay, yeah. Because sakura flower is very beautiful flowers. I like it. And I also invite Professor Takaki to visit to Universitas Airlangga. I'm very, very happy. It is world-class professor in their field who will deliver their knowledge to all of us. In this special occasion, we do hope that all of the lecturers and students can learn and adapt the new knowledge given by our distinguished speaker. The special occasion is also the first step for us to start the collaboration with our two distinguished guests. We do hope our collaboration will not stop until today. For the speakers, Professor Takaki, we really need your support from you and your institution, Yamaguchi University, in the future. We hope we can extend and strengthen our collaboration. For your information, right now, Universitas Airlangga offer a lot of possibility for a professor, lecturers, and scientists who are willing to join us as a lecturer or adjunct professor to strengthen our position internationally as well as the scientific aspect. Finally, please enjoy our today lecturer, adjunct professor, and gain a lot of knowledge from this program. Thank you. Arigato gozaimasu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya hanya bisa bahasa Jepangnya itu aja loh. Arigato gozaimasu. Nanti Mas Oki harus mengajari saya. Kalau arigato gozaimasu sudah di luar kepala saya itu.
Mantap, Bu Dekan, mantap.
Ya, karena saya 3 kali, I 3 times to go to Japan, to Hiroshima 2 times, to 3 times, Kobe once, and finally to go to University of Nagasaki. But I hope I can go to the Yamaguchi University to meet the Professor Takaki and all the lecture in University Yamaguchi, and also my lecturer Masoki dan Mbak Lita. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih banyak, Bu Dekan. Luar biasa, sambutan yang luar biasa sekali. Terima kasih banyak. Ya, sebelum kita invite pembicara kita, Profesor Mitsuhiro Takaki, Ya, mungkin karena kebanyakan mahasiswa mungkin ya. Jadi saya bisa memfasilitasi yang mau bertanya bisa pakai bahasa Indonesia, tidak masalah. Bisa di tag atau tanya langsung. Bahasa Indonesia tidak masalah. Jadi kalau memang berbahasa Inggris lebih bagus, bisa langsung berinteraksi dengan Profesor Takagi. Tapi meskipun dengan bahasa Indonesia, no problem. Jadi ya free. Jadi semoga kita bisa menyerap banyak informasi dari yang Profesor kita kali ini. Baik, kita mulai. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi, to deliver his presentation. Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi, the time is yours.
Okay, ありがとうございます。Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. I'm really glad to present my lecture today. Thank you very much, all staff of the Ariranga University and also the Oki-san. Thank you very much. So I would like to start my presentation lectures. Can you see? Okay, yes. But I need to. Oh. Okay, and also can you see this? This movement also.
Maybe much better if you use full screen.
Full screen. Okay. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And back pen, laser pen.
Yes. Laser pen.
Beside. Left side.
Left
side icon. Pen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you see? Okay. Thank you very much. Today, my title is Mycotoxin. Sorry, I can't see. How to remove this my face?
Automatically again.
Okay. But okay, I would like to present about the mycotoxin in cattle. First of all, I would like to make a self-introduction. My name is Mitsuhiro Takagi, and birthplace is Kagawa Prefecture, and the educational background is I graduated actually the Kagoshima University and Laboratory of Cellulogenology, and after that, I just enter only 1 year Kagawa Prefecture office, and after 1 year, I quit my job, and again, I enter the graduate school of veterinary science of Yamaguchi University. And after that, I got a job at the Obihiro University as an assistant, 8 years. And after that, I moved to the Kagoshima University, and I stayed, work at Kagoshima 12 years. And finally, I got a job at Yamaguchi University, and now is 6 years has passed. And I study abroad. When I was the PhD student, I just visit the University of British Columbia in Canada as a visiting researcher. And also, when I was the Obihiro University, I got a postdoc position at the Utrecht University in the Netherlands. And during my when I was university student, I belonged to the university rowing team. Yeah, very tough, but I enjoyed rowing. Okay, and where is the Yamaguchi? Is you can see the map of the Japan, and here is the Tokyo, and here is the Yamaguchi. We have 4 main islands: Hokkaido, main island Honshu, and Shikoku, and Kyushu. And Yamaguchi is the most west part of this main island. And as mentioned, very old city and beautiful natures. And this picture shows the national treasures of Rurikoji 5-story. How to say? We call Goju no To, 5 layers temples. Very beautiful with these very beautiful trees. Yeah, sakura, cherry. Yeah, during the springtime. Maybe Oki-san took pictures. This, I think. Okay. So I would like to introduce the outline of today's lectures. Firstly, I would like to introduce the basic information and the general information of mycotoxins in dietary feeds of cattle. And after that, I will introduce our recent field research. So, introduction. Firstly, I would like to introduce the Japan's cattle population and general information about animal feed. Japan's cattle population, you can see, from the 2017 to 2021. This is dairy cattle and this is beef cattle. Yeah, almost same tendency. The number of cattle is almost same. But the number of farmers is gradually decreasing. This means the number of the cattle of each farm is now increasing. Yeah. So this means, farmer seems like the kind of the companies, to feed so many cattle, and the small farmers is now, stop to feed, So this is typical Japanese tendency of the animal, domestic animal. So this tendency is same in case of pig and poultry, almost same. Is it okay? Okay. So animal nutrition and feed rations. Animal feed needs to meet a requirement of the animals, of course. And in general, it must contain a particular structure to keep I can't see, sorry, I can see this. The stomach healthy, dry matter, various nutrition and minerals also should not be moldy, or mixed with dirt and soil, So these are very important. Oh, sorry, I can't see this. No. Right side, because the pictures of our face. Okay, and feed nutrients function for cattle is, milk, meat production and composition, growth and reproduction, and body condition. This is a very basic and essential aspect. And how to feed cows in Japan? In dairy case, in dairy breeding, in Holstein Friesian cows, usually use the total mixed rations, TMR, for usually these dairy cattle. TMR is a method of feeding cows that combines feeds formulated to the special nutrient contained into a single feed mix. So all this kind of the nutrition is calculated according to the requirement of the each cows. And the mix contains the following feeds. This is mainly the forage, grains, protein, feeds, minerals, vitamins, and feed additive. On the other hand, in beef, fattening Japanese black cows, forage and concentrate feeding usually separately, forage and concentrate separately feed to the cattle. And no mix, usually no mix is needed. And for individual feed, no.
You can minimize the video screen.
So how to? Of course, yes. I can see this. Very sorry. No need. Not necessary this. Okay, yeah, okay. Very sorry. Now, yeah, it's good. And yeah, in beef fattening Japanese black cows, especially the forage and concentrate, feeding is separately usually. No mixture is needed and possible to individual feeding. And of course, drinking water is always available. This is very important. Okay, and this is example of cattle feeds. This is WBS, whole crop silage we call, and chimoshi grass and concentrate. These kind of pellet, corn. And so next, I would like to move to the general review of the mycotoxins in dietary feed of cattle. Firstly, I would like to introduce the molds against human or animals. As you know, the mold is two aspects. Positive aspects is we know the fermented food, the Japanese food, miso, soy sauce, or sake, the alcohol, the Japanese sake is very famous. And also, to produce the antibiotics we utilize the mold, for example, penicillin, etc. And also the enzyme preparations such as amylase, protease, etc. These are positive aspects. On the other hand, the mold has a negative aspect. So lot of food and sometimes pathogens of crop and plant, and also pathogens for human and animals. For the we call it mycosis. This is kind of cause of sick, and also poisoning of human and animals. And this is mycotoxins. We call mycotoxicosis. And what is the mycotoxins? Mycotoxins are secondary metabolites produced by fungi, mold, that cause a toxic response. So as I mentioned, mycotoxicosis. when ingested by the human and animals. So consumption of a mycotoxin contaminated diet may induce acute or long-term chronic effect, acute or long-term chronic effect. And finally, resulting reduced growth of efficiency and reproductive rate, decrease the reproductive efficacy, and impairs resistance to infectious disease. Third, induced pathogenic damage to the organ. And in case of the severe case, the culling of the animals or death will occur. So this shows the clinical aspect of mycotoxins. As you know, Japanese climate seems to be suitable for fungi growing because during the summer period, the humidity is very high. So the climate is very suitable for the fungi and possible to expand the mycotoxin contaminations due to sometimes international feed trading. In Japan, so many feed or food is exported from the foreign countries, especially North America or Australia. So this case will, maybe occur. And mycotoxin contamination of imported grain during the storage period. This is very important. Of course, when we export this kind of the grain from the foreign countries, when imported, we usually inspect the mycotoxin contamination of the feed and food. But this during the storage period after the feed food in Japan, now this is very problem, this storage period. So as I mentioned, of course, the monitoring of these mycotoxins of this feed and feed was conducted, national feed inspection. But after this inspection, no inspection was conducted, no check. So information is not available on farm condition, So in this case, especially for farm condition, very difficult to monitor mycotoxins after the import, as I mentioned above, and difficult to analyze mycotoxins on farm conditions, and difficult to diagnose mycotoxins, especially for the mycotoxicosis of the cattle. So this is another some explanation, clinical aspect of mycotoxins. Identification of the mycotoxin in the feed or the animals by analytical techniques, including immunoassay and chromatography. Now, we can measure the mycotoxins concentration in the feed or animals with immunoassay or chromatography. And the identification is sometimes very difficult and is usually expensive. In Japan also, to measure the mycotoxin concentration in the feed is sometimes very difficult. If we ask the laboratory to measure mycotoxin in one kind of mycotoxin of one feed is about 10,000 yen. I don't know the Indonesian money, but in Japan, for the Japanese farmer, also very expensive to measure the mycotoxin concentration. And the identification of the fungi by a culture of suspected feed required exceptional laboratory service, as I mentioned. Very we need some specific technique, specific laboratory to measure the mycotoxin concentration. But essential to realize that isolation of non-toxigenic fungi does not diagnose mycotoxicosis. This means if we culture, this picture shows one example. If you pick up the one, very small piece of the roughage and just culture the PDA culture dish, and a few days later, so many fungi we could get. And but we can actually culture the fungi, but we can't recognize the mycotoxin within this feed. So sometimes very difficult to evaluate the mycotoxin concentration on the farm conditions. So as I mentioned, so this is the method, obtain feed samples. Oki-san kindly pick up these pictures from the internet. And if, we measure the mycotoxin with this low silage, in the US, I never seen by myself, but usually with this machine, they pick up the samples from so many places of this road. So this picture shows, distribution patterns of mycotoxin in feeds is like this. If we measure the nutrition aspect of the feed, for example, if this is feed, we can take anywhere in the feed because the percent concentration is almost same in case of the nutrition. But in case of the mycotoxin, they said mycotoxin is distributed like a spot-like. This is not spot-like. So if we take around here as a sample to measure the mycotoxin, maybe we can't we can't detect the mycotoxin because mycotoxin exists spot-like. Yeah. So this is also very difficult aspect to evaluate the mycotoxin concentration in the feed. So this slide shows the types of mycotoxins. We have three major mycotoxins. The first is Asparagus toxins. The most famous mycotoxin is aflatoxins. Maybe you know the effect of hepatotoxicity, immunosuppression, and reduced growth, and very, very dangerous mycotoxin, cell toxicity and DNA damage. And second, penicillium toxins. And for example, the ochratoxin, patulin. And this mycotoxin is impairment of the renal function, leukopenia, immunosuppression, and induced of also the tumors. And third one is fusarium toxins. For example, the zearalenone and deoxynivalenol and fumonisin. These are three major mycotoxins. And mycotoxin comprises more than 300 different chemicals that cause a variety of clinical symptoms. Maybe the number of the mycotoxins now still, I think now still increasing. So yeah, to research about the mycotoxins, yeah, sometimes very difficult. I don't know. Yeah, but okay. Just I will show you the each typical character of the Asparagus. This one shows Asparagus flavors. The structure is like this, and the penicillium is, so if we culture this kind of penicillium fungi, blue colors, and the shape of the penicillium like this. And the fusarium, if we culture, in many cases, you can see the pink, red color change, and shape is, like this, so-called crescent moon structures. And due to the Japanese regulation of the
すみません。うまく聞き取れませんでした。
Oh, something happened. Sorry. Very bad. I don't know why. Okay. This shows the Japanese regulation of the food feed, the safety. In Japanese regulation, you see the three mycotoxin, but very, very recently, the fumonisin is added as a new regulated mycotoxin. Firstly, the deoxynivalenol, the criteria is less than 1 ppm, and zearalenone less than 1 ppm, and aflatoxin B1, most toxic mycotoxin, less than 1 ppb, very more small concentration than these two mycotoxin, because they are very dangerous mycotoxin. And I'm now focusing in the zearalenone. So what is zearalenone? As I introduced, zearalenone is produced by the fusarium species fungi. And infected maize, wheat, barley, rice, and other cereals. And zearalenone then is a non-steroidal estrogenic mycotoxins that is produced by Fusarium graminearum. And concentration of zen in food and feed vary depend on the climate condition. As I mentioned, Japan is a very, very suitable growth of the Fusarium fungi. And the highest rate of contamination of food and feed samples occurs in years with heavy rainfall, especially in spring and during the summer time, very hot season. You can see this straw is contaminated by the Fusarium, but also you can't see the zearalenone, rice straw contaminated with zearalenone, we detected. No. Yeah. So what is zearalenone? Mycotoxin zearalenone is this zearalenone has estrogenic properties, because some part of the joint point with the estrogen receptor is very similar with estradiol. That's why if zearalenone was intake, the induced endocrine and fertility disorders will occur. That's why this zearalenone is called endocrine disruptor by the mycotoxin. And that's why I'm now focusing in this zearalenone for my research topics. Reproductive toxicity of zearalenone in domestic animals. If the animals take very high concentration of zearalenone, hyperestrogenism will occur, such as swelling of the vulva, hypertrophy of uterus and vulva, and vaginal discharge and ovarian atrophy, and prolonged estrus. And finally, decreased fertility will occur. And on the other hand, I'd like to introduce the antimural hormone, AMH. So what is AMH? AMH is the glycoprotein produced by the granular cells of follicles and inhibit the recruitment of primordial follicles into the pool of growing follicles. And AMH decrease the responsiveness of growing follicles to FSH. So FSH control the follicular development of the animal and also in case of the human. This picture shows the follicles, the morphology of the follicles, and you see, for example, these are granular cells, or this shows granular cell, and they're staying with the AMH antibody. So these AMH secretion was occurred from only the granular cell of growing follicles. And the AMH is the best endocrine marker of the population of small antral gonadotropin responsive follicles in cows. And the in vitro studies, as I mentioned, zearalenone induce apoptosis of granular cells in the antral follicles. So finally, maybe leading to reduced AMH secretion. I hope you understand this flow of this story. As I mentioned, zearalenone, if the is the kind of endocrine disruptor, and if animals or human intake the zearalenone, finally, zearalenone and its metabolites are detected in case of bovine and also in case of the pig follicular fluid. We already reported. So this means after intake of the zearalenone is enter the follicles and the follicular fluid. And as I mentioned, zearalenone induced apoptosis of granulosa cells. So this apoptosis of granulosa cells induced the reduced AMH secretion from granulosa cells. Yeah, this is the story flow of this slide. So as I mentioned, we know this picture shows the structure of the follicles. This is oocyte, and oocyte was surrounded by the granulosa cells, and these are Seca cells. And here is the follicular fluid, and we, as I mentioned, we already detected zearalenone in this follicular fluid. So AMH may affect the population status of these antral follicles. Zearalenone may act as an endocrine disruptor. So if the high concentration of zearalenone in these follicles, maybe apoptosis of these granulosa cells will occur, and concentration, secretion of AMH from this granulosa cell must be decreased. So control of mycotoxins. Most of the control method to avoid the mycotoxin identified below at the trial level and have not been used widely. One method is spray or pasture with a fungicide, some chemicals to kill the fungi on the pastures. And one method is immunization animals against some mycotoxin, but still very difficult. And added adsorbents into the feed, such as activated charcoal, bentonite, or zeolite. Just added, top dressed on the feed of this absorbent. And this method, absorbents, use of the absorbent is now very, very popular in the worldwide. And the research focus, now we are focusing on effect of zearalenone on reproduction and or metabolism. So to achieve this, to evaluate this effect, sometimes we use in vitro cultures and hormone assay and metabolomics method. And how to control for acute and chronic contamination of the feeds is avoid disruption of intestinal barrier function. Of course, we can use these adsorbents to avoid the mycotoxin contamination. Now we are use the little bit different method to avoid disruption of mycotoxin from intestinal cells to activate the intestinal barrier function. Yeah, but today I'm not going to explain detail. And our recent research is these two types of research is now going on. Firstly, the relationship between ovary size and anti-mural hormone levels of Holstein Friesian cows. And second is case report, kind of case report, but practical application of urinary zearalenone monitoring system for feed hygiene management of Japanese black cattle breeding herd. So this is first page, the title of our recent submitted papers. We already submitted these topics to the journals, and now waiting for the reviewing. So research background is the antral follicle count. This means the number of the antral follicles in ovary of Holstein Friesian cows positively correlate with the level of the AMH concentration in blood. And as a number of the antral follicle size, antral follicles now defined as the size of 3 to 8 millimeter diameter. So if the number of these antral follicles is increased, it must be occur. This phenomenon would expected reflect in the size of the ovary itself, themselves, because the so many antral follicles in the ovary, so reflect the ovarian size. The ovaries must become big. So therefore, this study aimed to verify the correlation between ovary size and blood AMH level. This AMH is reflect the number of antral follicle count. So and if antral follicles increase, the ovary size will become more bigger, and if antral follicles number increase, AMH concentration become more higher. So how about the relationship between this one? Now we already conducted some field studies, and yes, we got the very significant correlation with this ovarian size and AMH. And now we submitted our manuscript. To achieve to measure the ovarian size, we use the transrectal ultrasonography, US. And we have now this type of, compact, very small US we are now using. And also the price of this US is becoming more cheaper than the before. Especially this one is the, now in Japan, this type of US per 1 beds. So now the Japanese veterinary vets is using this type of US in the field. And also we use this bovine AMH ELISA kit to measure the AMH concentration in blood. And yes, I already mentioned the result, but this is the final result of our research, correlation between bigger ovary area and AMH levels. We could get some significant correlation between ovarian size and AMH concentration. So discussion conclusion. Previously, it has been reported that antral follicle count, number of antral follicles, and AMH concentration, and ovarian size might be phenotypic markers or their association with cows' fertility and reproductive efficacy. And based on our result, we found out that the AMH concentration and ovarian size has a significant correlation. So I hope this is the first study to show the correlation between larger ovarian size and broad AMH levels of Holstein cows. And these results suggest that observing ovaries using the US or even the rectal palpation will allow to estimate the difference of AMH levels, which is recommended to predict fertility and superovulation performance of each cows. Maybe, I hope, yeah, we need to increase more number of the cattle, but we will continue this study with Oki-san. And the next study is this about the mycotoxin contamination. We now going to submit this paper also. Objective overview is the study report on acute practical application. Actual practical application, we established urinary zearalenone monitoring system. We use urine samples to measure the zearalenone concentration, not only for severance of zearalenone exposure at the production site of breeding cows, but also follow-up 1 year monitoring after improvement of feeds in the herd confirmed to be then exposure, and also concomitant with monitoring broad AMH concentration also, and serum amyloid A concentration, this acute phase protein, which may reflect the ovarian antral follicles count. This reflected by AMH, and inflammation status, this reflected by SA concentration.
位置がわかりません。Wi-Fi をオンにしていただければ現在地を調べられます。
Sorry, very sorry. And yes, thank you very much for your kind attention, and I really appreciate for you all, and especially for the Oki-san to support to make this very excellent slide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Mitsuhiro Takaki, for giving us such informative and interesting presentation. And next, ladies and gentlemen, for student and another participant, now come to the question and answer session. I would like to have 3 questions from the participant. Please, if you have any question, you can directly ask by oral or by text. Is it okay? Seperti yang saya sampaikan sebelumnya, jadi bahasa Indonesia pun juga tidak masalah, jadi kita bisa fasilitasi begitu. Jadi monggo, mungkin ada yang mau didiskusikan, silahkan. Bisa langsung menyalakan mikrofon, angkat tangan, atau tulis di kolom chat gitu. Baik, kita tunggu. Pak Anam, bagaimana? Cek. Ah ya, ada yang angkat tangan. Ya, silahkan kelas Yang paling depan kelasnya deh ya. Silakan diaktifkan mikrofonnya, nggak apa-apa, ngomong bahasa Indonesia aja. Kelas D kalau nggak salah ya.
Oke.
Bisa
Iya,
diaktifkan kameranya deh.
Mohon maaf di sini sedang hujan dokter, jadi sinyalnya
Oke.
agak terganggu.
Kelas D, silakan Citra Handana. Baik, silakan.
Sebelumnya mohon izin bertanya kepada Dokter Mitsuhiro Takagi. Tadi kan pada materi itu ada diagram untuk produksi sapi dan juga daging sapi. Nah itu saya lihatnya itu tiap tahun itu naik gitu. Nah kenaikan dari produksi sapi sama daging sapi itu apakah ada pengaruh dari ekspor ke luar negeri untuk dagingnya atau hanya itu hitungan dalam negeri di Jepang saja, dokter? Terima kasih.
Iya, baik, Citra. Terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Mungkin dua lagi boleh lah kalian. Silahkan kalau ada yang mau angkat tangan lagi. Atau mau dijawab dulu yang dari Citra tadi ya. Jadi nanti biar Profesor Takagi menjawab dulu, baru saya tambahkan gitu. Oh, sorry, ada lagi kelas E, Salsa. Ya, silakan Salsa.
Iya, izin bertanya, dokter.
Ya,
Perkenalkan, nama saya Salsa Rensolana, saya dari kelas E. Di sini saya izin menyampaikan pertanyaan dengan bahasa Indonesia. Tadi saat di presentasi itu kan ada kontrol untuk ini apa dokter, untuk mycotoxin ya. Nah di situ kan dalam trialnya itu dituliskan adding absorpsi dalam di pakannya itu. Nah itu selama trial dilakukan itu apakah penambahan absorpsi ini tuh menimbulkan efek samping di samping untuk pengendalian mycotoxin tadi? Seperti itu dokter. Terima kasih.
Iya, baik, terima kasih. Mungkin satu lagi terakhir mungkin. Oke, dua dulu. Baik, iya cukup dua dulu. Nanti akan kita
Yes, thank you very much for your good question. And firstly, the Oki-san informed me about the Japanese cattle population, right?
Yes.
And why? Because you know, yes. How to say? Yeah, as I mentioned, nowadays the domestic animal, all situation same. You know, cattle, pig, poultry, or same because due to the you know, one aspect is the age of the farmers, average age. You know, now the young generations, young generation don't want to be a farmers. Yeah, that's why the age of the farmers, especially in dairy and beef cattle, is now increasing. As far as I know, the average age in Japan, the dairy cattle farmer is about 65 years old. That's why these people is, and their son don't want to be a farmers. So so this kind of small farmer just quit their job, and all cows, cattle go to the very big companies or very big farmers. I think this is one aspect of the Japanese animal how to call the situation of Japanese farmers. And also due to the another aspect is maybe the price of the feed is now increasing. As I mentioned, almost the concentrate, even the roughage is Japan as export from the foreign countries. This means, not so cheap for the farmers, and that's why the big farmer can buy the big volume of the feed at once. This means the cost for the feed per herd is become cheap. Yes. So and this very small farmers can when we think about the feed cost, the big farm is much has a very big advantage to buy the feed. So I think this another aspect to cause of this Japanese situation now, I think. But I think another reason must be exist. But as far as I think now is these two factors is very big, and age of farmers is now increasing. That's why understand?
To the second question.
Yes, and second question is regarding the absorbent. No. Sorry. Oh. As far as I recognize, about the side effect of the adsorbent is, I think maybe no. And in Japan, especially for the dairy farmers, as I mentioned, aflatoxin is very dangerous, and the farmers are afraid of the aflatoxin contamination. Yes, control to the aflatoxin. That's why, because after intake of the aflatoxin B1, this aflatoxin is metabolized to, and this aflatoxin is secreted in the milk samples as aflatoxin M1. That's why farmers very afraid of the contamination of the aflatoxin. So to control especially for the aflatoxin, the dairy farmers in Japan usually use the adsorbent to prevent the mycotoxin contamination. And as far as I know, no side effect was reported. So I think, no need, no need or not so much of the side effect. And recently, as I mentioned, we are now trying another approach to prevent the mycotoxin contamination, to use some kind of the oligosaccharide to stimulate the barrier function of the intestinal epithelial cells. We already have some result. So maybe this approach will become more popular in the future, I think. But as far as I know, the side effect of the adsorbent is not so much, I think. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for your great answer. So let's continue to the discussion session. Ya, apa ada pertanyaan yang lain mungkin? Atau kalau tidak, saya akan coba tambahkan sedikit dan menyimpulkan dari pertemuan kita hari ini atau guest lecture kita hari ini. Apakah masih ada yang mau didiskusikan kira-kira? Oke. Baik. Dr. Anam, kira-kira apakah sudah cukup?
Ada lagi yang nanya.
Ada lagi yang tanya? Dari Pak Anam mungkin?
Apa namanya? Mikroba rumen itu apa? Enggak bisa membunuh ini ya, membunuh jamur ya.
Cek. Baik Pak Anam. Dan coba saya sampaikan.
Okay, thank you very much for a very nice question about the effect of the lumen in yes. As far as I know, and yes, the lumen is the first defense. The lumen has first defense mechanism of mycotoxins, and as I mentioned, the intestinal epithelial cells, kind of the tight junction is the second barrier functions. But in case of the, sometimes in the lumen acidosis or lumen alkalosis, the some so-called microflora in the lumen is broken. So in such case, the effect of the mycotoxin will be more severe, I think. But these are only the kind of the information from text or literatures. So I think as far as I know, no practical case report or is not available still now, especially in the cattle. Very interesting question, and we need to clarify. Yes. but lumen is very good barrier. Yes.
Yes, Sensei. Thank you very much for your answer. Apakah ada yang mau didiskusikan lagi? Silahkan. Ya, kita masih ada waktu 5 menit lah mungkin. Satu kali sesi lagi kita buka. Apakah ada yang masih mau bertanya atau berpendapat? Silahkan. By text boleh, langsung boleh, bahasa Inggris boleh, bahasa Indonesia boleh, free. Pokoknya tidak bahasa isyarat aja. Atau bahasa kalbu tidak bisa. Kalau sudah mungkin sudah Pak Anam, atau
kalau
ada yang
kalau sudah tidak ada yang tanya bisa diakhiri.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Pak Anam. Jadi sebelum kita akhiri, mungkin saya sedikit menambahkan tadi penjelasan dari Profesor Takagi begitu terkait pertanyaan yang pertama tadi. Sebetulnya itu grafik tentang populasi, bukan produksi begitu ya. Jadi trennya memang populasi di Jepang untuk sapi perah dan sapi potong itu cenderung stabil, meskipun sedikit sekali meningkat, tapi ya cenderungnya stabil. Yang jadi masalah adalah jumlah peternak yang terus menurun. Karena seperti yang sudah dijelaskan tadi, usia peternak yang rata-rata sudah begitu ya, sudah tua, terus anaknya tidak ada yang melanjutkan, ya masalah klasik seperti di Indonesia begitu ya. Jadi jumlah farmersnya menurun. Jadi oleh sebab itu jumlah kepemilikan ternak per peternaknya jadi naik, gitu otomatis seperti itu. Untuk yang kedua tadi tentang feed absorbance begitu ya. Ya jadi secara garis besar fungsinya adalah bahan yang ditambahkan di dalam pakan untuk mengabsorpsi atau mengurangi efek negatif dari mycotoxin. Begitu. Jadi apakah ada efek negatifnya atau tidak? Seperti yang sudah dijelaskan tadi, hampir tidak ada begitu. Kalau perusahaan sudah memproduksi sebuah pakan, tentunya sudah melalui hasil uji coba, jadi hampir tidak ada efek negatif feed absorbance dalam pakan yang dijual secara komersil. Beda cerita ketika kita melakukan riset, begitu masih ada kemungkinan kita mencari formula atau konsentrasi yang pas buat komposisi sebuah pakan. Gitu. Yang terakhir dari Dr. Anam sendiri, ini dari guru saya, kepala departemen, ya sudah hampir lebih dari 2 tahun Pak, kita tidak bertatap muka. Jadi semoga nanti ada kesempatan lagi, Pak Anam, ada Prof. Mirni, ada Bu Emi tadi kalau tidak salah, ada Pak Adi, Prof. Sri Danah, dan semuanya di Departemen Peternakan. Jadi saya sangat pengen pulang ke Surabaya Pak, tapi nanti Pak doakan saya cepat lulus.
Oh, ya.
Terakhir dari Pak Anam tadi tentang mikrobarumen yang sudah dijelaskan oleh Prof. Takagi. Ya seperti itu Pak. Jadi saya tidak menambahkan banyak ya. Pak Anam lebih master daripada saya begitu. Jadi intinya kalau memang mikrobarumen itu kan flora normal. Jadi barrier pertama apa-apa saja yang masuk ke dalam perut begitu. Jadi ketika flora normalnya itu kuat, ya mungkin secara efek mycotoxin yang titernya tidak terlalu tinggi, sapi tersebut masih bisa survive begitu. Tapi ketika hal tertentu, misalkan keadaan kondisi tubuhnya kurang maksimal, nutrisi yang didapatkan sapi sendiri kurang maksimal, nah dengan titer rendah pun mycotoxin bisa menimbulkan efek negatif ke sapi, apalagi dengan jumlah yang sangat banyak. Gitu. Ya, dari I apologize. I will conclude with the Indonesian language. Iya, jadi ini adalah kuliah tamu yang pertama dari Profesor Mitsuhiro Takagi. Alhamdulillah sudah berjalan dengan lancar. Beliau adalah Adjunct Professor di fakultas kita, jadi kedepannya mungkin akan masih membimbing kita dalam setahun ke depan. Jadi poin pentingnya dari riset beliau adalah beliau concern di pakan, mycotoxin, dan reproduksi pada sapi. Jadi majornya gabungan antara pakan dan repro begitu. Jadi nanti mungkin bisa kita diskusi lebih dalam lagi pada diskusi yang berikutnya. Terus selanjutnya habis ini apa Pak?
Pemberian sertifikat.
Sertifikat.
Ya.
Kepada pembicara begitu Pak ya?
Ya, kepada pembicara. Sama moderator. Moderator ya, langsung dikirim saja.
Saya gampang Pak. So ya, finally, we come to the end of this guest lecture. So before I close the guest lecture, I would like to say thank you very much to our speaker today, Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi, and for all of the participants, interesting presentation from the presenter and all the participants for the very active participation. So before that, we would like to hand over the certificate to our great speaker today, Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi. This is a certificate for speaker today. So,
thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So yes, thank you very much for Professor Mitsuhiro Takagi. Ya, sekarang sertifikat untuk saya sendiri mungkin. Ya, terima kasih banyak Pak Anam, Bu Dekan, semua dosen, Bapak Ibu guru saya senior di Departemen Peternakan, serta adik-adik mahasiswa yang berbahagia begitu ya. Oh ya, tidak lupa hari ini juga and also today Hashimoto join in our guest lecture.
Okay.
Hari ini ada juga satu mahasiswa dari Yamaguchi, grade 5, Shoko Hashimoto, join di guest lecture kita sore hari ini. Jadi bisa berinteraksi langsung dengan mahasiswa kedokteran hewan di Indonesia. Begitu. Jadi ini kampus merdeka. Jadi zaman saya kuliah dulu tidak ada online seperti ini, jadi kita bisa melewati batas jarak dan waktu begitu ya. Baik, terima kasih banyak atas kehadirannya. Salam hormat saya, salam hormat kami kepada Dekan, Pak Anam, seluruh staf Fakultas Kedokteran Hewan, adik-adik mahasiswa. Bila saya ada salah atau kata-kata yang kurang tepat, saya mohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya. So please, for Takagi Sensei, please give your final speech to end this guest lecture time. Please.
Thank you very much for for giving me this opportunity, great opportunity, and yeah, I really appreciate. And also now we are planning with Oki-san to go, if available, after Corona pandemic, and we will go to your university, and we would like to continue our research about mycotoxin contamination especially in dairy cattle and beef cattle. So I really hope to keep in touch with your group, your team, and finally, thank you very much again, and ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Prof. Matsuhiro Takagi.
Ya, mungkin ada yang mau disampaikan Pak Anam terakhir penutupan.
Okay, Prof. Matsuhiro Takagi, the paper is very good and useful for all of us. Thank you.
Ya, oke, baik. Terima kasih banyak. Kita akhiri sesi guest lecture kita hari ini. Selamat sore. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Semoga kita bisa bertemu di lain kesempatan. Baik.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mohon izin Dokter Bodi, Dokter Bodi lupa saya. Ya, mohon izin semuanya.
Iya,
Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you so much, Prof.